Hey guys, welcome to episode 2 of the Best Words podcast. Audio quality is a little bit better on this one. Today we're going to be talking about the Civil War and good, bad, a little bit of the in between. Sit back, hope you enjoy it.
Okay, let's go. Hi everyone. Welcome to the Best Words. We're going to be talking about Civil War today,
Comic?
the movie,
Okay.
everything else.
That's
The historical event,
No.
American Revolution.
Oh, yes.
It was a time of great turmoil.
Was it
Blues and Grace?
the State of Jones? What was it?
Yeah, that new.
Is that
It's a
one?
new movie with
The State of Jones.
that one guy.
Ah,
Roots documentary. Anyways, off topic. So
So we just got back from seeing Civil War.
pretty good.
everybody loved it.
It
Yeah.
was really good.
It was
Like,
really good.
there were a few things that it did that I didn't want it to do, and there are a few things that I wished it would have done that it didn't do.
Yep. And we're gonna get into all that. Cover good, bad, some in between stuff where we put it in our grand scheme of Marvel films.
So let's go ahead and start with the good. Should we start like the best
It
good?
was just amazing.
I'd say that the best thing that came out of this movie for me was T'Challa, because he was so well cast and he was so cool.
They were all well cast.
Yeah.
Like even Spider-Man was surprisingly.
Like, yeah, Spider-Man and T'Challa, seeing them on screen was definitely awesome. I don't know, man. I can't say enough good things about it, and we can break it down.
I was really
A little
impressed
more.
with Tom Holland as Spider-Man because I felt like he embodied the coolness of Andrew Garfield but the awkwardness of Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, he's a nice in between. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more Spider-Man films. He didn't have too big of a role
Well-
outside of
Yeah.
the
Sure.
fight. They didn't do a stupid 6-hour backstory.
Well,
they didn't do.
They didn't even explain it.
Yeah, there's like it's a long story because everybody knows
Yeah.
already. Like we don't need. He didn't mention Uncle Ben at all.
Right.
I mean,
Like-
that's how they explain it in the movie. Most likely it was because they just shoehorned him into the script at the last minute because they didn't have him when they
and
first
that's
started.
still fine though, right?
Yeah,
Like,
they did a good job
yeah,
with it. I'm just
like-
saying that from a story standpoint, that's most likely why it happened.
Well, yes, but I was okay with it. Like I got enough of a feel for him and how he's gonna be as a character when he was interacting with Tony, and then even as he was fighting Falcon and
Everybody. Cap.
Bucky.
I really want to see more interactions between him and Captain America
It was really good.
because that was one of my favorite things in the comics. Whenever him and Captain America would interact, was just like Spider-Man looks up to him and has so much admiration for who Captain America is.
They did a good job of recreating that feeling in the comic where Spider-Man was just destroying everybody, and then when he's fighting Cap actually gives him a run for his money, like and puts it to him.
Yeah,
Just like in the comic, like even in his own monologue, he's like, man, like I've never fought someone that can just pick up on my fighting style and just
yeah.
So it created a really good parallel to the comic. So I really like that it drew from that, like it was inspiration.
And they did a good job with T'Challa because they did a good job of showing him being regal and also still coming into his own of being the new king of Wakanda.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, his presence was a presence that hasn't been on the
Yeah, they haven't really touched on a character like T'Challa at all.
and it was really nice to bring him into it.
And the way his fighting style was so cool.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like anything that we've seen from any of the characters.
Oh yeah, no, it was a nice mix of of a war. It felt more akin to a warrior. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
someone that's been brought up since birth.
And he didn't. He also, I liked the fact that he wasn't really choosing sides.
He was just like, I need to do this.
He was just like, this is what I feel like I need to do
Yeah.
for my country.
Yeah, because because unlike any of the other Marvel characters, he has more riding on it than just his own like wants.
Yeah.
and needs. He's like, well, shit, got a whole country to look after. So I definitely like that. Segue back to Spider-Man. I love the banter.
The banter from both Spider-Man and Ant-Man was really good.
Yes.
Paul Rudd continues to nail that character, and
Yes.
I'm really impressed.
It's nice to have that humor thrown in. Like for all extensive purposes, this was a really serious movie. I mean, it's
Yeah.
comic books, right? But
It was.
it addressed a lot of topical social issues that people are dealing with now, and it did it in I think, a respectful way. And Paul Rudd and Tom Holland as their characters brought something to the film. It brought that humor, and Spider-Man felt genuine.
Spider-Man, I think it helps too that they actually cast a character that is an actor that is a teenager
instead of
somebody acting like a teenager.
Yeah. No, that's good. And that's another great thing. They're really gunning for a newer set of Avengers years down the road.
Yeah, it's definitely getting set up for that.
And they're doing it. They're doing it right.
Yeah.
They're not. Again, we had how many characters? We had more characters in this movie than the Avengers, and they still got, when they were on screen, they got their own moments. None of them felt like, I don't know.
I feel like I pretty much expected it to be before I went into it. I felt like it was a better Avengers movie than Avengers 2 was.
And yet it still was more of a Captain
America
movie on top of that.
It still was. More good things.
They did a good job with the character arcs.
Yeah, the interactions between all the characters is good.
Yeah.
I mean, we just talked about specifically Ant-Man and Spider-Man, but
I was kind of worried whenever they first announced Civil War, because I was of the opinion they haven't really fleshed out this universe enough for them to start doing Civil War. Civil War was huge in the comics.
Yes.
So I don't know if they can really do it, and I was they're just gonna paint Tony as a villain, and you're not gonna like him in the movie. But
they didn't do that.
Yeah.
No, they addressed the biggest issue, in my opinion, with a lot of people's opinion in the comic book, that it was very polarizing to have Tony just be this asshole. Very few people like Tony in the comic books. He just wasn't the fan favorite, and rightfully so. The way they wrote him in the movie, they did a great job of balancing the characters and their viewpoints.
Another good thing was Marvel traditionally has really weak villains. I wouldn't say the villains in this were really strong, but they weren't bad. They just weren't heavily utilized.
Well, because it was mostly centered around the conflict between...
Right. They were pretty secondary to what was going on in the plot.
I mean, they didn't utilize Crossbones, which is fine, right?
Well, more importantly, they're setting up for Ross and Zemo to become major villains, which I think will be interesting.
I don't know much about Thunderbolts, so...
Well, I mean, even if you don't know a lot about the Thunderbolts, Zemo is you saw Zemo as a character. That he's an intelligent individual. Yeah. He doesn't really take uncalculated risks.
Oh, he's a great villain. And this was that first time again. People always complain about the villains are just carbon copies of their hero counterparts. He had no powers. He was just a regular guy with explosives, access to military files.
I don't know about regular guy. He was definitely a lot more relatable. I mean regular as in he didn't have an Iron Man suit. He didn't have super soldier serum, right? And he also fit really well within what they were telling of the story, because he had a lot on the line.
I'm also glad that they're still tying everything into Hydra, because I really like Hydra as an organization.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it's good. They continue to address the issue of superheroes being in the quote-unquote real world, right?
Yeah.
I like what they did with this. Everybody's like, oh, they're just killing people and people are dying, blah, blah.
Yeah, and that opening scene where they had the whole showdown with Crossbones and it ended with the explosion, it made sense. And it did a good job of setting up the entire controversy of whether or not they should be governed.
Yeah. It was done really well.
Yeah, it was. I honestly think that was a little bit better handled than the way they did it in the comics, with just a random group of mutant kids doing a reality show where something goes horribly wrong.
Yeah,
because it's really
secret organization.
The police have been governing mutants forever in the comics. It's not like this was something that wasn't bound to happen anyway.
Yeah. But all the characters from all the movies, the exception of Thor and Hulk, which Ragnarok and Planet Hulk, hopefully, came back and. They were great, man. We'll go down the line. I mean, Hawkeye was great.
Hawkeye.
We want more Hawkeye.
Yeah, the more I see it, every movie they've given him more to do, and
he's amazing because he just doesn't. He's like, whatever. I have a bow and arrow. I'm just gonna take on the Vision. Whatever. I don't care. And it was fantastic to see that trend because
which is really cool.
My life as a weapon.
Right.
Addresses things like that.
Yeah,
I'm a normal guy taking on people.
Yeah, that's what I'm really liking, is they're starting to do more of the Hawkeye that I'm reading in the comics.
Yeah.
And the more that they do that, the more I want to see him.
Yeah, he didn't bat an eye. He was like, Vision, whatever, don't care. Gonna fight you.
Because he was more or less a throwaway character in the first Avengers. He started to have a few better moments in the second Avengers.
Yeah,
but in Civil War, he was just like, wow, I want to see more of this character.
Yeah. Scarlet Witch, she's I like I've been saying since the first one. People were like, "Oh, she doesn't have the same powers." She's gonna grow into those powers.
I don't think she's gonna grow into those powers.
Yeah, well, okay, not reality warping, but the whole like.
I'll talk about that later.
The whole like psychic.
I think that honestly, she's not going to grow her powers at all. She's pretty limited because her powers were given to her artificially.
I meant from the Ultron power set where it was like, I'm gonna manipulate you, to having psychic.
Well, right. Yeah, one of the big things that they did talk about in the movie was the fact that she doesn't know how to control her powers.
Which is fine.
But I don't think that she'll ever have the type of powers that she did in the comics.
No, because it would be ridiculous. But I'm saying people were worried about how she was going to play into the Avengers later based on her power set.
Actually, I just came up with a really good theory about this.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. We'll talk.
Well, no.
I also have something about this too.
Does it have to do with Vision?
No.
So my theory that I just came up with like right now is that Vision is going. Well, he's going to have to die because he's going to lose his Infinity Stone. And that's going to trigger Wanda to find a way to bring him back.
In addition to
possibly
in addition to a brother.
Maybe. Like, that one might be a little too far gone for it. It depends on how far they want to go with it.
We're drawing the line. In a superhero, we're drawing the line there. That's where we draw the line, where we suspend disbelief.
I'm just saying, like...
Do you think that...
I think that could be a really good trigger for her to warp reality, though.
Right, but I'm also saying, do you think that could be how they could reboot, if they need to reboot the series?
Yeah.
Maybe that's something they could do?
Yeah.
No, it would be awesome, is if they use that as a way to bridge X-Men into it, and they do House of M.
That'd be cool.
That would be awesome.
I don't know if that'll happen, but
well, we want it to.
I know. I would like it to.
I either want House of M or Avengers versus X-Men.
So from Wanda, I like Vision. I love Paul Bettany.
I want more
anything that he does.
I want more Vision.
Anything that he does.
I want more.
Even
Vision.
awful movies like Priest. It's like watching the dude.
I want more Vision.
Yes,
I do want more Vision.
All of the characters. He doesn't have enough screen time. He's the only thing, and I want more of that.
Yeah. Well,
even Bucky, I thought, had better screen time than he did in Winter Soldier
with his name attached to it.
Yeah.
We were talking about this at the end of the theater. They need to just branch off. Like, I want to see more Vision and like Wanda's interactions. That was hilarious, dude. Like
keeping up with the Maximovs.
Like they skip all the superhero stuff and just deal with them as like being normal people or trying to be.
I want to see, like, I forgot how much I enjoyed Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, so I'm really excited to see Wasp and Ant-Man when it comes out.
Oh no, it'd be great. He again, little screen time, right? Just mostly the fight and interactions with Steve.
And when
Arrow guy, I'm ready, Arrow guy.
I was like, when he was like, I have a plan. I'm like, holy shit, is he gonna do it? Is he gonna do it? Is he gonna get big?
Yeah.
And then he did it.
It was
and I was
great.
just like, that's the best thing ever.
That was awesome.
The
it
best
was so
thing
well done.
No, so Ant-Man was good. I mean, even Falcon, dude, like
Falcon was great.
Yes,
I absolutely loved him in Winter Soldier, and I think that he just entirely owned that role in Civil War.
He continues to improve. His loyalty and interaction with Steve is great.
Yeah,
like it pulls really good moments. I would say even from the comic.
Marvel they're so good with their casting.
And you know, it was fine. It was fun to finally see War Machine.
Yes,
being War Machine.
Yes,
because
finally.
they give him the shaft in every movie.
Yeah, especially the Iron Man movies.
Yes.
And then finally,
it is really like even in this movie, like he has some really good moments, but they still have underutilized his character so much.
I agree.
Like when he unloaded on that bus, I was like, yes, that's what I want. I don't want the lasers and pulse whatevers from Iron Man. I want machine guns
or when he had that baton.
Yeah. Like that's straight.
Hadn't he been Iron Patriot in Avengers 2?
No, Iron Man 3.
That was 3.
That was in 3?
Yeah.
So why was he not Iron Patriot in this?
Because S.H.I.E.L.D. got shut down.
He wasn't S.H.I.E.L.D.
It was the government. It was the US
he was
government.
CIA.
Fair enough. Maybe he didn't want to wear the colors. I don't know.
I don't know. It's not important anymore. I'm just curious because that was a big thing. They were like, "Hey, it's Iron Patriot," and then suddenly he's like, "Oh, I'm not Iron Patriot anymore. I decided I was going to be War Machine." Sure, whatever.
Who are we missing? So we talk about Rhodes.
Black Widow.
Black Widow, fantastic. She's getting her own movie.
Yeah,
you guys told me that.
She's getting her own.
They're going to try and work it out.
They haven't said when it's going to happen in the lineup, but they're talking about wanting.
And I think you're right that they're missing out on opportunities to do a spy
They
movie.
could do entirely like a Jason Bourne movie.
Yeah, no, that's what I said.
That's what
because, the 007 movies are really popular. The Jason Bourne movies are really popular. Marvel has the cast to do more than just superhero beat-em-ups.
Not just that, but it would be really cool to see a 007 type movie with a female character.
Exactly.
With
That
because Hollywood continues to give women the shaft in the spotlight. It's really frustrating, especially when you have such strong female characters in movies like Avengers.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for Captain Marvel. I think that that's going to open the gate for a lot more super heroine films.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I want a Black Widow movie. I want a spy thriller, espionage set in the Marvel universe with her as the main character.
So let me ask you this, because you had mentioned that you said it'd be really interesting to see. I'm going to call him Arrow Guy because I can't remember the name of him. Hawkeye. Hand his bow over to the what's her face,
Kate Bishop.
And what if Kate Bishop and Black Widow had their own movie?
I think what they should do,
that'd be amazing.
It would be cool if they had their own movie, but I think it would be cooler if they have a Hawkeye movie with Hawkeye and Kate Bishop in it.
See, but I don't know.
Because I really just want to see a Matt Fraction Hawkeye movie. That's really all I want.
I don't know if they're going to give Hawkeye a movie. I want them to. I want everybody essentially to have their own movie.
Yeah.
Well,
but like, man, he's getting kind of old.
I know that you get
he unlike Tony and like Steve and I mean, him and Don Cheadle look really old.
Yeah, they're starting to get old.
You're like, man, you're pushing 40, man, and you look at
like I know that you don't like the fact that I think that everybody needs to die in comic books, but so Hawkeye as a character does not work as well while his family is alive. It is a huge part of his character that his family dies.
That they shoved in there.
Yeah. Like, it is a gigantic integral part of his character. It is so ingrained in him that if they don't do it in the cinematic universe, they are doing him a horrible disjustice. Probably. And I really want them to... Like, I think that they could entirely do a Hawkeye film just around that. And it would be awesome.
They could.
They could do an entire film just about his family being kidnapped, him trying to get to them, and them being murdered.
Probably.
And it would be a great... It would be a good segue into his character for the next Avengers film, too.
It won't happen, but
I know
it'd be amazing. But it'd be amazing.
So, other good things in the movie. The action scenes are great.
The pacing.
So how long was that action scene? Because I think they said they clocked it at like 12, 13 minutes
for the big airplane fight.
Yeah,
something like that.
And that did not feel too long or too short. That felt just right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even all the action scenes I thought were well choreographed and presence isn't a word, but when the people who were fighting, they definitely delivered on their characters, right? So, like, we talked about T'Challa. When he was fighting Bucky, again, and not him in his suit, when Bucky was escaping.
Yeah.
When he was fighting him there, he was like, I don't care. And that presence that he brought to the set is different than when him and Tony were fighting, was different than when him and Black Widow were fighting. Right? Like, it just felt really well done. Outside of just the punches and kicks in the throat.
And I will say I didn't think that the fight scene was great. By no means am I saying it wasn't. But I don't think it flowed quite as well as the fight scenes in Avengers.
The first one?
Like, yeah. Because the scene, like, just the transitions between characters in the first Avengers film in that action scene in New York was so well done.
That's true. That is true.
It's not that this one doesn't do all of the characters justice. I just don't think it transitions between the characters as well as that fight scene did.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But it's still really good, and I don't by any means think that it was bad.
It's just comparing it to...
Yeah, it was just very different. But it was also done by different directors, so, you know.
The story was well done?
Yes.
Fantastic. Like you said, the pacing was well...
The story was very much along the same lines as Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And I really liked that. It was still a thriller-type film, it was just much higher scale.
Yes.
They did the Winter Soldier too, though, right?
Yes.
Okay,
the Russo brothers. They're also doing the the next Avengers movie.
Yeah.
Well, it's not going to be called Infinity War.
Well,
Secret
until
Avengers.
they say
Secret
whatever
Avengers.
it is.
Okay, so yes, probably Secret Avengers.
They did tension really well. Like so I knew, like, at the very end when Steven and Stark were fighting, I knew that Stark is going to show up in the new Spider-Man movie, But I seriously thought one of them, if not Bucky, was going to die. I thought somebody was going to die.
Yeah.
I
seriously thought it was going to happen.
I honestly thought Bucky was going to be dead after they showed that shot of him with his arm missing.
I was, and we'll get into what we think might be bad or in between. I thought Cap was going to die, straight up.
Really?
I told Sam before the movie started, like, if Cap doesn't die, I'm going to walk out of the movie after the credits are over.
But, so we missed on the two main characters, Tony and Cap.
Yes.
Can I just say, the one scene that was probably the best Captain America scene was when he was holding on to that helicopter. It was
it was just a really good shot of his muscles.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I'm saying.
I was waiting for Bucky. I was waiting for Bucky just ram him, just hit him with the helicopter.
And then he did it.
And then he did. I was like, thank you for being a sensible bad guy.
Yeah.
Right. Like, just ram him with the helicopter. But no, I thought they were both really well written. Their interactions were really good. Because it shows that, like...
There's been a lot of growth between both of those characters throughout the movies.
Yeah.
And
which is needed.
I think it's really cool to see, like, Steve is still very, very grounded in his whole, we have to keep our freedoms. We have to do what is right whenever we need to. Regardless, we have to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see that, but you also have Tony on the opposite end of the spectrum. If you've been watching all the movies, like, he's been getting progressively more paranoid.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see that. Yeah.
And that's the thing. No one else is even, like, addressing it.
Yeah.
Like, no one else is, like, giving him credit, like, saying, like, hey, man, you see somebody, except for Bruce. Really.
Yeah.
Except for Bruce, who's somewhere.
He's off saving the galaxy.
Yeah, whatever.
And I still say that Romanov knows exactly
she knows exactly where he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, no. Because they're going to have a romance. Sorry.
They're not going to have a romance. They're not. And you know why? Because it would ruin the entire Planet Hulk. They can't do it. Because everyone wants Planet Hulk to die.
As much as I don't want that relationship to happen, I still want Planet Hulk to happen.
They're both gonna happen, whatever.
But
no, they did a great job balancing. Like, so I went to the movie. I full disclosure, I'm more Team Iron Man than I am Captain.
So you're wrong to begin with.
Man, whatever.
No. He was explaining this to me. He was explaining this to me.
The thing about it is, I definitely think Tony went about it in a weird way, similar to the comics, right? Not as stupid, because in the comics he's straight
the
up.
The big
just...
problem that they run into now, like, I get the whole wanting to be regulated, making sure that somebody has some kind of checks and balances.
Yeah,
on them.
That's my thing.
But,
I support the accountability part of it.
Right.
Like,
but the thing is, like, it worked better when S.H.I.E.L.D. existed.
Oh yeah.
Without S.H.I.E.L.D. there, it just falls apart.
Well, yeah, and it made it. I like the way it did it in the movie because, again, it shows that there might still be a need for S.H.I.E.L.D., which we know they're going to come back. I think they're going to come back.
You have to watch S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay, fair enough. But I feel like they're going to come back in some way. But, like, so the reason I like the conflict between Tony and Steve, like I said, I'm all for the accountability part that Tony was talking about.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I definitely don't think it should be handed over to Ross because look at what he did with it. But for Steve to say, you know, man,
complete vigilante.
Yeah, these people are like, they have their own agenda and they're going to do what they think they should be doing. And then he turned around and did what he wanted to do. Like, he had his own agenda. So to say that someone else had an agenda is a bad thing and be like, I'm going to do my own thing.
At the same token, Cap was also way more informed in what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
So,
but
he was acting off of what he knew he had to do.
But he should have shared that information with Tony.
He tried to.
No, he didn't.
No, he
didn't.
He
tried to bring it up before the airplanes
when
or
Bucky,
the airfield.
when Bucky's arm was trapped.
Yep.
Falcon was like, should we call Tony? No, I don't think he'll believe us.
He said that.
But he did mention it before they started fighting.
When he found out,
I'm not saying that he gave him all the information.
He could have called and been like, and if Tony doesn't answer, that's on. You see what I'm saying? If you put the ball in someone else's court and they don't respond well, that's their fault. So for Steve to be like, I'm not going to tell Tony because I don't think he'll like what I have to say.
But at the same token, he was also doing that because he was going off of what Sam was telling him. Because he trusts Sam.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Nobody reached out to Tony when the information was present. And I also...
Until it was too late.
Yeah, and then when they show up to fight, quote-unquote fight, Tony's even like, hey, we don't have to fight. You just come back with us, whatever information
you have. Nobody gave Cap the benefit of the doubt. Like, he's done enough in this world that he shouldn't have. They shouldn't have just like been like, "Hey,
Winter Soldier." he didn't. T'Challa brought up a great point
but
saying that
he wasn't at fault for what happened in Winter Soldier.
T'Challa brings up a good point that I think it was T'Challa. He said how many was it him? Somebody brought up a point that every time that Bucky's involved, Cap gets soft and lets him go.
He didn't really let him go in Winter Soldier.
Well,
he was unconscious.
He got distracted still. He gets distracted.
Instead of solving the problem, which isn't necessarily killing Bucky. But my point is he gets soft when it involves Bucky.
But at the same token, like, he's also been actively trying to find Bucky. Yeah. Like, he's been trying to take care of this problem. Yeah. It's not like he was just like, hey, I'm just going to let him run around and do whatever the hell he wants.
That's what he wants to do.
That's not what he's done, though.
Captain America's not running around doing whatever he wants.
No, he does what's right. Out of everybody in the Marvel Universe, he has a stronger moral code than anybody.
Both of you are right. You know?
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I'm saying he doesn't want Bucky to run around doing whatever he wants, but Cap is like, I need to have you.
Well, he's not. It's not a matter of not wanting Bucky to run around and do whatever. Like, he understands that there's something wrong with Bucky.
He wants to get him back. He wants to rehabilitate him.
Yeah.
What he's trying.
Whereas that's not what they're going to do with him if they get him. That was the whole problem.
They were going to kill him.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And they were just going to straight up take him out of the equation.
Yeah. And then, like I said, we're not a group of, gun-toting cops or whatever he said. I don't remember.
But not a single one of them was listening to Cap whenever he brought anything up.
He wasn't trying to explain it during the fight.
I'm not saying based on just the fight. I'm saying anytime it was brought up that they needed to handle Bucky, no one was like, maybe we should listen to what Cap has to say. He knows this guy. Everyone just automatically assumed that Winter Soldier was a bad person.
Well, based on his track record.
Based on him actually doing bad things.
Not under, what they found out
Not
about
under his own power, but the fact that he'd actually done bad things.
Yes, but...
Even Cap didn't know that he was fully under control.
Yeah. But I feel like discrediting him being a good person, or discrediting something like that when you know that institutes like Hydra exist in the universe... is unfair.
Well, even Buck came to this thing. Cap didn't want to come to terms with what had happened. Buck even said, he was like, you weren't,
it wasn't control. You that did that.
He was like, but I still did.
Yeah.
So he's at least owning up to the fact that, you know what?
Accountability.
You're right.
Yeah. And
but I still need to own up to what I've done.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to be murdered.
Well, no. And he wasn't going to be murdered, right?
Well, if the UN had what they had their way with it, he would have been just straight up murdered.
Well, no, he was captured. Remember, Zemo let him out.
No. When they originally went after them,
they were going to take him out. Yeah, but then they captured him because Cap was there.
Yeah,
is the only reason they.
The only reason they captured him was because Cap was there.
Yeah.
I will say,
that's what I like about this movie, right? Like it provides discussions like this. Like I said, I may be more Team Cap, but I'm not.
Like I agree that there's nothing wrong with them wanting to have checks and balances in place. But the problem is that you can't give it to a group like the UN because there would be corruption. Yes. Like it's like what Cap said. Yeah. Everyone has agendas, and agendas change. Yeah. And that's why.
So it was.
It would have worked if Shield was still around because Shield is basically just.
The checks and balances.
They're basically just the Avengers.
Yeah. No, it was good. Like I said, their whole. And their interactions were great.
I will also say that I think that the sides that they had in this movie made more sense than the sides they had in the comic books. Yeah. The Superhero Registration Act was silly in comparison to the Sokovia Accords.
And like I said, Steve caused a lot of his own problems in this movie.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what he does.
Like not telling Tony, like, come on. That was a big movie.
So we're moving into the bad parts, right?
No,
I'm cool with doing that. I'm cool with doing that. I just need to transition.
Like, just... No, just the fact that he's
hypocritical in an unintentional way.
Yes, it brings more realism to his character, I think.
Yeah, no, it creates flaws that he has.
And that's, I'm glad that both people came to some sort of terms at the end, right?
I mean, if you really think about it, everything that Tony does is still spawned by his own egotism.
To a point.
Because the only reason that he was entirely behind it was because of the old interaction that he had at the MIT thing.
Yeah.
Well,
if it hadn't been directly related to him, he wouldn't have been as on board.
It was.
I'm not saying that he was opposed to it.
And Iron Man 3.
And Potts leaving him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying he was opposed to it, but it's almost always related to something directly happening to him.
It is.
Well, I mean, he's been a part of all of the big problems.
Yeah, but you're missing the point of if it wasn't directly aimed at him, he wouldn't have cared as much.
That's true.
Because that's not his character.
He's self-centered, so that would make sense.
The only selfless act he has made in the entire series so far was when he took the nuke up into the portal in the first Avengers.
Saving Pepper.
That's not really selfless. Because he was doing it out of his
suit on her and not him.
He did.
I mean,
okay.
I did forget about that though.
So it's fine.
Oh my goodness. I don't know.
So, but no, like I said, they both have their flaws.
We're currently arguing about sides.
Yeah. Well, not arguing, more discussing.
An argument is discussion.
Not true.
It's entirely true.
Not the same.
Now you're arguing about discussing.
Yeah. Come on, Brian. Maybe it's a competition.
Where were we?
We're talking about.
Iron Man. I was about to say
Tony
something.
and Cap.
Okay.
Yeah. So I will say, out of the entire series, I feel more relatable to Tony now that he's had like
experiences he had.
Yeah, like I feel for the guy because he's been through so much crap.
Yeah.
Whereas like Captain America,
he's been through stuff,
feels the stuff, but
he hasn't like again. So yes, egotistical of Tony. If it's directed at him, he needs to do something about it. But the same thing was said when Zemo straight up said, "Yeah, I lost my entire family." What did Steve do? He was like, "I'm sorry." Like, just brush it off like it didn't matter.
Because that's all he can do.
Yeah.
Too.
What did you expect him to do? Did you expect him to be like, "I'm sorry, you didn't have to try and ruin my life because of this"?
Sorry for your loss.
Although I do see Steve actually like volunteering his time, whereas Tony would not do that.
Yeah. I mean, he'd give stupid
he would,
money.
he would give money, right?
$1 billion.
But he wouldn't.
No.
I mean, like, so
volunteer.
My biggest point would be, like, what reason other than it benefited him did he have to bring Spider-Man into the movie?
Because Marvel and Sony struck a deal.
Because
it's going to make them millions of dollars.
I know, but, like, outside of that, plot-wise, did he have any reason to do that other than being like, I need somebody that can help me out?
That's pretty much it.
I'm not saying his reasons for doing everything are noble, because you're right. Captain
not.
America has a better moral compass.
Yeah.
But how much was he willing to sacrifice and let go only for Bucky? Like
he was doing it because he knew he was right.
Right is not the right
You
word.
could say the same thing about the Kingpin in the Daredevil.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Just because you think you're like, I understand that the bond that he shared, he felt responsible for what happened to Bucky, and I get that, right? Like,
it was a matter of like it was his best friend.
Yeah.
He knew that there was something wrong with him, and he was under the impression that there was a way to fix that, and he didn't want
or he was going to figure out a way.
He didn't want to just give up on that until he had exhausted all of his routes.
Becoming a war criminal. I'm just saying that
if that's what he has to do,
it's his flaw, right?
Yeah,
his friend is his flaw.
Yeah, he will go to the ends of the earth for anybody that means the world to him.
Yeah.
But not Tony.
Tony doesn't mean as much to him as Bucky does.
Yeah, because he's had a history with Bucky.
That. No, I understand it.
To be fair, I mean, they're kind of friends, but they've never been like
they're more like coworkers than friends.
They've always had kind of that
they respect each other greatly.
Standoffishness between each other.
But they're not like Bucky knew him before he went through the Super Soldier program, right?
Yeah.
He's seen him at his worst.
Yeah.
Bucky helped him out in the very first scene of Captain America, so there's a much bigger connection there.
I understand. I just, it's one of those, like, do the ends justify the means kind of thing.
Well, right.
And that's where Steve falls on it. The ends always justify the means versus...
I could more understand the concern if, like, Cap was recklessly throwing people's lives into jeopardy. But he does a pretty good job of damage control.
Yeah, but the thing is like the government doesn't know what he's doing on the low end of the scale.
He just
so
went to Wakanda and was like, "I'm going to do this Spec Ops mission."
Yeah,
not tell anybody.
Well, I mean, he couldn't tell them because if he did, he couldn't tell Tony because Tony was directly reporting to Ross.
This was before that.
Yeah.
My thing is just it's his flaw is that he also just didn't trust anybody else. I think he should have. But again,
well, you have to remember that like he went through the whole thing in Winter Soldier where he couldn't trust anybody.
Because everybody was betraying.
So he couldn't. Yeah, so I mean that kind of plays into how he acted in this film.
All in all,
that makes perfect. I didn't think about that.
The reason this movie I think is so good is because I see both sides to the Cap Team Iron Man. Right, I feel both had valid points, and people are gonna fall just like in the topical social problems now. People are gonna fall on one other side. It's all about whether or not you like it.
I guess my biggest reason for not being able to get behind Team Iron Man is because Ross is entirely attached to it. And as soon as Ross is attached to anything, I'm just like, nope, it's a bad idea.
Also, you have the comic. You have decades of comic book history to fall back on.
It's true.
Yeah.
So you're already kind of slightly biased.
And that's the thing, right? Like the fact that I think some people can walk out of this movie and some might still skew more towards Tony.
Yeah.
Than the comic book, which was like, no, if you're siding with Tony, you're stupid. Essentially, sorry.
It's true.
Sorry for the
comics.
Sorry for the small population of people that after Civil War comics were like,
if you can
Cap was an idiot. Like they should have totally been on
if you
Tony's
can
side.
entirely support Tony Stark throwing superheroes in prison in the negative zone, then there's something wrong with you.
And hiring super villains, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
they did a really good job. Like I said, if some people walk out of this movie like me and are still more Team Cap and Team Iron Man than Team Cap, I think the movie accomplished its job of being a better middle ground.
I'm a little sad that we're not going to be able to get any of that interaction that Punisher and Cap had in the Civil War comic, though, because that was so
But
good.
he's getting a second season.
Yeah, I know he's getting a second season.
He's
Well,
getting
he's getting
his
his
own
own
season.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Captain
But-
America cameo and Punisher?
probably not.
Yeah, probably not. But it'd be cool.
Spider-Man and Daredevil. That's not gonna happen.
I don't know, you never know.
Daredevil
No.
in Avengers
Not gonna
could
happen.
happen.
No, they already said
No,
that they're
it
not
might
doing
It could
that.
happen.
They said it might.
It could. Okay, so we've been going on about the good stuff. Bad
Yes,
stuff.
go with the bad
There
stuff.
was some bad. Okay, look.
There was plenty of bad
I'll
stuff.
start off. Some of the CG. I know they didn't have the budget that Iron Man had or the
Yeah.
Avengers, but some of the CG was not.
Iron Man's
Well
suit
done.
was.
In some scenes, yes, it was terrible.
It was really
In some
The
scenes,
close-ups where
yeah,
he's just standing and
we had
talking.
no. Yeah, it wasn't
was-
that good.
It was
at
all jittery
Yeah.
and just.
And
ugh.
Cat's shield looked weird sometimes when he was throwing it. Now, by doing the CG, they were able to do cooler things, right?
Yeah.
But yes, it came. That's sometimes Ant-Man's suit looked a little weird. Like there were one or two scenes that I was.
I did not like his new mask.
Yeah, it looked kind of weird.
I preferred his movie mask
Yeah.
over this one.
But the CG was a pain point for me because some of it was really good,
And then
and then some of it was
just-
just
like you had mentioned. Well, just to go back to the good stuff. The Tony Stark younger
yeah.
was
Oh yeah.
actually not
The
that bad.
CG for young Tony Stark was great. They've gotten better as that technology comes. What did we say when they made Hank Pym younger? Looked pretty good in Ant-Man.
Oh,
yeah.
we forgot to put the Rogue One trailer in the good.
Talk about that later.
Independent
Later.
of this film. And it looked better than even Captain America 1 when
Yeah.
they made Steve Rogers look, puny and small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Infinitely better than Tron Legacy.
Also, as far as bad costume goes, they really need to fire whoever comes up with their disguises because
It's been a baseball cap and jacket
a
forever.
baseball cap, aviators,
glass.
and a jacket is not a disguise.
Especially-
If anything, you stick
especially when
out
you're Steve
like a sore
Rogers,
thumb.
right? Like you're
Yeah.
like 6 something,
And you're built like a
super
truck.
built, right?
Yeah.
Like
God.
that guy looks surprisingly out of place against all these.
Like, I
puny,
think the
tiny
only
people.
person that looked inconspicuous in that outfit was Bucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone else looked
Why
like, why are you hanging out at a coffee shop
Yeah.
in
Why
a
are the-
baseball cap and aviators?
are the two of you together in baseball caps?
It's really weird that you are like talking very secretly, and then this FBI agent-ish person comes and gives you a folder.
Yeah.
No, that's totally normal.
They did the same thing in Winter Soldier. It was like, I didn't believe it then, I still
Yeah.
don't believe it now.
Yeah.
Their ideas of costumes aren't the best. But sorry,
It's a
Just
big
to
issue
segue.
whenever you have a character like Black Widow who's supposed to be a master of
Yeah.
espionage, and she's
Just-
running around in sunglasses.
And in the first Avengers, she's totally somebody different.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, to segue briefly into a good part, man, even the brief interaction between Wanda and them two as they were training her to be like more.
Yeah.
I like that part. Like it shows more growth as a team. But back to the bad stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't even talk about Vision in the good stuff.
We did skip
We
over
did.
Vision.
No, I mean, I said
We
I wanted
kind
to.
of-
We needed
we
more
kind of
Vision, is
touched
what
on
we
it.
Okay,
said.
so we want to segue
But
back
we
to that
didn't
real quick?
really talk about the fact that Vision trying to act like a person was hilarious.
Yes. Okay, Vision being because that's how he is in the comics, kind of, right?
Where he like walks through the wall and he's
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm sorry, the door was open.
I just assumed. Yeah. No, he does a really good job, and his place in the conflict is good as well.
Yeah.
He approaches that super logical kind of standpoint,
Yeah.
which he's bringing AI, right? So I like that.
And I like that they're building the relationship between him and Wanda.
Yeah. No,
Because they're one of my favorite relationships in comics. Because they're so ridiculous.
oh yeah.
They're way overpowered.
Yeah.
Well, if you notice,
Yeah.
Vision stayed out of most of the fight.
Yeah, until he killed Rhodey. Or almost killed Rhodey.
Oh my god.
I told you he wasn't going to die in the movie.
He got the shit into the stick out of everyone, though.
Oh, well.
Paralyzed.
That's what he gets for teaming up with Tony.
He's not totally paralyzed.
Okay.
He's recovering.
Thankfully, he knows a rich billionaire. Who
Yeah, that's the other thing, right?
Because anybody else would have been fine.
That's one of the, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Bet they're not going to talk about that in the news.
To be fair, right, like, Brody and them are best friends, like super best friends.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense.
No, it's great.
Yeah, you'd think that Tony would be able to relate to the fact that Cap would do anything for Bucky. Because he'd do anything for Rhodey.
He totally would.
Just saying.
So what else was bad? So I will say that it is now definitely getting to the point where you probably should watch the past movies to really understand the characters' motivations to this point.
Yeah, so we talk about that, right?
Starting to get into that dangerous comic book waters of having to know what the hell's going on.
And we talk about that in the best comic movie thing we talked about. Up until this point, you're right. There definitely felt like I can jump in kind of anywhere. Like, if I watch I could watch the Avengers, Ultron, and then probably Civil War and be okay, or go from there into Captain America or Iron Man. You're definitely getting to that part.
But you're not going to you're going to miss a whole lot of character growth.
And we discussed, right? That's like comics. But it's definitely getting to that point now where if you don't have some sort of background in these characters,
it's going to be hard to...
it's going to be hard to relate. Like, the reason we felt the way we did about certain characters and their interactions was because we were like, we've seen them develop over these last 8 years, right?
Yeah.
2008?
Seriously.
Even though technically Ed Norton's Hulk started the MCU.
Yeah. They had a lot of... So, one of my big complaints is that they had a number of characters that I thought were underutilized. Like, Zemo was very underutilized.
I mean, yes, he wasn't the person he was in the comics.
Well, right, I get that. But, I mean, okay, my biggest issue, actually, with characters that didn't get screen time was Sharon Carter. Yeah. Because in the advertising, they were showing it like she was going to be, like, the counter that they had for Black Widow. And she doesn't do anything other than get Cap his shield back.
And gets papers.
Yeah, and delivers the entire speech from Captain America.
And kisses her aunts.
Oh yeah, she kind of disappeared after that, didn't she?
Yeah, she just disappeared after that. Yeah. They had advertising where she was like suited up and ready to go, which is why I was expecting her to show up in that fight scene, and she didn't at all.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, she was underutilized. Who else?
Zemo.
I mean, I liked how he fit in, right? Like,
it's a good introduction.
My problem is that
the conflict was Civil War, not Zemo, right?
But at the heart of it, it was still a Captain America movie. And there wasn't really a whole lot of
bad guy
villain going on.
I mean, but
for a 2.5 hour movie where they gave everybody enough screen time.
But at the same token, they also do kind of explain that with Zemo's character being like he was trying to set it up so that they took themselves out.
Yeah.
But it's
pretty well.
it's underutilized for me because I really like Zemo in the comics and I really want to see more of him. But that's fine because they brought Ross in, and I'm like 80% certain that they're going to end up doing Thunderbolts with that.
Red Hulk. What else in the movie wasn't all that great?
It's really hard to think of.
You said the sound design wasn't.
I mean, the music's never. There. It's just that's how the music really is with all of the Marvel films. It's just kind of there.
Crossbones was kind of like he was there and then not.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised he just died.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. He did die. I forgot.
Yeah, he was disposable.
That's how little I cared.
He pretty much blew up.
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, Well, he's gone. Okay.
I thought he would get away and then come back.
Yeah, like
maybe at some later.
Self-destructing off his buildings. So hot right now.
But yeah, to your point, I thought they were definitely going to go the super soldier route with the other Winter Soldiers.
Yeah.
And then they did, and I was like, oh, okay, that's fine.
They didn't kill Cap, which is a really bad part for me.
Yeah, look, he needs to die.
Like it's not a matter of he needs to die. It's that it makes sense for his character.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna be what brings the Avengers back together.
It better be he was hit with a sleep pill, because I will probably not watch MCU ever.
You're gonna keep watching.
You'll keep watching. But, I mean, it makes sense as to why they'd retitle Infinity Wars.
Yeah.
Because now that they've got the Avengers split up, I'm expecting that it will be Secret Avengers that happens next. Mm-hmm. And most likely Cap's going to die because that's going to be how they bring everyone back together for the Thanos thing.
It didn't... Look, Avengers 2, and this goes back to a good thing. Sorry, there's so many good things about this movie.
Yeah, it's hard
to stay on track.
There's not many bad things.
I mean,
that's pretty much it for me.
A lot of people's biggest problem with Ultron was they shoehorned a lot of shit in.
Yeah.
Thanos wasn't mentioned once.
Nope.
They're setting up for
they
other
talked
things.
about Sokovia like the entire film.
It's not Thanatos.
Thanos.
Sorry.
Thanatos Smite.
I'm playing
Were we talking about Thanos or Ultron?
Thanos. I'm not, they
Well,
didn't.
no,
I
what
thought
I'm
we were
saying,
talking about Ultron.
Well, no, the reason people were upset with Ultron is because they shoehorned a lot of things. They're like, we're just setting up for the next things.
Yeah.
And
Well, it was an in-between film. It's really hard to not do that.
I mean, my point is, the characters weren't shoehorned.
The biggest issue with that was that Ultron, as a character, is a very good villain. And
he wasn't.
he was just kind of showed up and was gone. Like, Age of Ultron was maybe like Weekend at Bernie's.
But no, all the characters flowed well. The hints for the next upcoming things, which we'll talk about, were really good.
That's something I don't like.
What?
So, you actually see Spider-Man's emblem.
Yeah.
And I've seen screenshots of it already for Homecoming for the title screen. I feel it's a little too kiddish, like too cartoonish.
But he's still a kid.
Cartoonish. I know.
Fair enough.
And it makes, and it's just a little pet peeve of mine. It's not really
I
like
understand.
a
No,
really
I
bad thing,
understand.
but
Oh,
I don't know.
Aunt May.
I didn't see a problem
Why
with
does
it.
she look so young?
Because they're modeling Spider-Man more off of the Ultimate Comics, and she's young in the Ultimate Comics.
Yeah, no, Aunt May. Yeah, Aunt May.
It doesn't bother me.
It.
I mean, it doesn't piss me. This is really nitpicky, right? Like,
Yeah,
if I
I
could-
know.
if I
we're
could
getting
pick
to the
on-
nitpicky
If I
parts.
could nitpick on Aunt May and how she looks in this film, everything else is.
If she were poorly cast, I'd care more. But
Well, we
I was
don't
fine with the way
know.
she was
She
portrayed.
didn't really have much
Yeah, I know.
dialogue.
I mean, she's Aunt May. She doesn't do a whole lot other than
Other
just
than get
give
kidnapped?
Peter a hard
Other
time.
than get kidnapped all the time.
Well, get put in a coma, almost
Oh.
die,
That thing's getting
and
captured.
destroy Peter Parker's marriage for the rest of his life. But whatever.
I mean, I'm trying to play through the
Small
movie
things.
of other good stuff. I mean,
I'm a little sad that it didn't do any setting up for Strange. Not that I expected it to.
no, I wouldn't. But that's fine. I want Strange. I kind of want Strange to come out of nowhere and be like, "Oh, hey, by the way, there's
Yeah.
magic," because they haven't really addressed that
Yeah, and
at all.
they're not.
Very little. They did it in the original Captain America.
Kind of.
Tiny,
Yeah. That's what I'm
tiny
saying. Right?
bit.
Like, magic isn't this thing that. I mean, right? Again,
I
why wouldn't it exist in this world where we have all these
Right.
other things?
Yeah.
It just hasn't been brought to the forefront, which I think is.
I wanted to be bothered by the fact that it doesn't directly tie into the whole Thanos thing, but it does because they're splitting up the team and they're going to have to get the team
Yeah.
back together before they can
Yeah.
take out Thanos.
Yeah, but they didn't do an ending credit scene where he's like, "Ah, yes, now is my chance," or something stupid, right? Like everything is going according
Well,
to, you know what I mean?
it's kind of
Fucking
funny
Darkseid.
because, I mean, the whole thing has been him trying to gather the Infinity Stones. He still only has one of them at the moment.
Yeah.
So is he
It'll be
just?
interesting to
Is
see
she
how it
gonna
plays
be like a crazy cash grab at the end,
out.
where he's like, "Hey, look, somebody else got all the gems for me."
Yeah,
What?
mine.
Oh, now I'm gonna kill you all.
No, it was really good.
But they did set up for Black Panther,
Oh yeah.
which was what they were entirely doing with Zemo and Ross and Bucky.
Yeah.
So I'm imagining that the Black Panther film will probably focus around Claw and Zemo trying to get Winter Soldier back from T'Challa.
I like Bucky. All right, I like Bucky's character. Can it stop revolving around him?
No, it can't.
One
And the reason that it can't stop revolving around him is because he's going to be the next Captain America.
Well, no, I know that, but it's not like I'm trying to put it into it. So the reason people focus on the Hulk in the Avengers movies is because he is both their greatest weapon and both for and against them, right? Because he's uncontrollable.
Yeah.
So both times he was used as a weapon against the Avengers to cause problems.
Yeah.
Because he's the Hulk. He's the strongest being, essentially,
Yeah.
in the universe. Bucky just has a metal arm.
You mean?
No,
I mean,
he's been
no. He's
trained.
got the same super soldier stuff going
Yeah.
through him.
Bucky is just a super soldier and has a metal arm.
He's also Cap's best friend. He's also like everything that you said about them using Hulk against Cap is the same thing that they did with Winter Soldier and Captain America.
They framed him.
I just want...
He's a very powerful ally.
They shouldn't have killed Red Skull, is what I'm saying.
He's not dead.
He's not dead.
Okay, he should be in a movie soon. Because
Yes, no, I agree. I want.
I want
more.
the shift off of Bucky for like 2 seconds.
I'm gonna laugh when the next Captain America movie is actually just Winter Soldier.
See, that's what I'm saying. This is nitpicky.
Winter Soldier Resurgence.
It's just, I get it. I just want to see Cap interact with people that are not Bucky.
Well,
I can understand that.
so I
can
think that
understand
we're gonna get a whole lot of that in the next Avengers movie because Bucky's gonna be out of the picture for
Good.
a while.
Thank
He's
goodness,
probably gonna have a minimal role in Black Panther. He's probably not even gonna have that much screen time.
Good.
But the next Avengers movie is going to be entirely based around the fallout from what Cap did to help Bucky.
Good.
Yeah.
So you admit it.
Until, he dies. And then it's going to be the fallout of what happens when Cap dies.
He just causes so many problems for people when he does whatever the hell he wants.
He's not causing problems.
You just said the fallout from what he did to save Bucky. That is literally problems.
But it's
Iron Man's no better. Look, the raft is now a thing, right? So,
the raft was yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like they both, anyways.
They're introducing the Thunderbolts, and I'm excited.
But the raft was cool. That there's now
it was cool. It's not quite as cool as the reveal for the helicarrier.
Okay.
But that's just because the raft isn't as well known as the helicarrier.
Yeah. That was good.
But it was entirely them doing that because they can't introduce the negative zone because it's tied to Fantastic Four.
And that's a lot harder to believe than
a
super prison.
Well, it's not that hard to believe if you have Reed Richards around.
Yeah, not if you bring
if you have the Fantastic Four around, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But you can't have the Fantastic Four around because.
But I also think having
Fox
the negative
is a bunch
zone.
Of assholes.
I think having the negative zone in this world that they built. I mean, again, we talk about suspending disbelief, right?
But it's starting to play more into that.
Which is good.
Because, you've got Doctor Strange that's entirely setting up parallel universes.
Which is good.
And that's...
Spider-Verse.
It's not going to happen. Secret Wars will probably be the big crossover this year.
That would be amazing.
Secret Wars would be great.
So any more bad things?
Probably.
I can't think of... it's really hard to think of bad things in that movie. Without nitpicking.
I'm playing through the movie again in my head, just trying to figure out
really
what I did or didn't.
The CGI was probably the biggest thing.
That was the biggest problem for me.
But
other than
that,
and you know what? To your point, the transitions, right? Because
the flow just isn't as good.
The lead up to the fight in the airport was kind of weird.
Yeah,
I was like, this doesn't feel as fluid as it could.
Though seeing Cap get out of a beetle was kind of hilarious.
Yes. He's so huge compared to the tiny thing.
Can you move your seat up?
Oh, yes. So, Bucky, Falcon, and Captain America, that bromance is hilarious.
I feel like the way that Bucky and Sam play off of each other is kind of the way that me and you interact.
Yeah,
it's just I hate you.
Yeah, no. It was... They have such good interactions, right? And again, that's that whole, in this super serious film topical. They were having a fun time. Bucky is not this Soviet war machine that, has no feelings.
Except when he gets...
Splinter.
So, yeah, I guess, we can go ahead and move on into the in-between. So this is just...
Actually, there's one final thing. The movie definitely starts off really slow.
Compared to some of the other films, yes.
Yeah. For good reason. I'm not, I understand why.
Yeah,
but it
I feel like
took a while to
they
get
could have
going.
left out that entire first scene of Winter Soldier doing the whole December 1991 or whatever.
Gotcha.
Because
I feel like it could have been...
my big problem with that is as soon as they showed that, I knew where they were going with it.
Oh, yeah.
So they could have had a bigger reveal at the end of the movie by not having it there.
Okay, I agree.
Because they did the whole, you killed my parents. And yeah, that would have had a bigger payoff if they hadn't already shown it in the movie.
Yeah.
And if you paid attention to what's happened in Agent Carter, then you know that was Howard Stark.
It was really good. That reveal was really good when Tony got pissed and started fighting against Cap, and back to good things.
Yeah.
And fight scenes.
Fight scenes were amazing.
But you're saying in between?
In between.
That fight scene between Hulk, I was gonna say Hulk, between Cap, Winter Soldier, and Tony at the end was just so good.
It's great.
The whole them tossing the shield between each other. It looked awesome when they did it in the trailer, but it was so cool seeing it in this.
The shield.
Yeah, the iconic shield plasma blast.
Pulse blast.
Repulsor blast.
Yeah,
that was. It was entirely the shot from Civil War.
And it didn't feel, again, they did a good job of not just being like, here you go. It was presented
I really appreciate that they did Civil War, but entirely different from how they did it in the comics.
They did it in what makes sense in the MCU version.
Yeah, because it would not have made sense if they did it the same way.
Yeah.
But they also made it, because of that, there's not going to be any real repercussions for Spider-Man showing up, which is kind of a bummer. Because I was hoping to get the whole secret identity reveal.
I'm fine with
but that also wouldn't have much of an impact since he said, what, 6 months?
Yeah.
He's only been Spider-Man for 6 months. That wouldn't have any real impact on his life.
Yeah.
Unlike in the comics where it was like, suddenly my life is entirely in turmoil.
Yep.
I was kind of hoping that final scene when they did, or when Peter had the icon on the ceiling, I was kind of hoping that it was going to be like Cap had slipped in a location for where he was going to be with the Secret Avengers.
I thought it was an Avengers symbol.
Yeah.
Like, he's part of the Avengers now, is what I thought it was, but I was wrong.
I thought that would have been really cool if, like, he had just slipped in the coordinates to be like, hey, check this out.
No,
See
he's
what I'm
gotta
all
protect
about.
Queens.
But
just sad that he's never gonna meet Daredevil, and that whole thing.
it'll happen.
It'll happen.
It's too Daredevil's too dark. Daredevil's too dark for him to show up.
That's not true. Punisher, Daredevil, Blade all showed up in
Deadpool.
in Spider-Man.
No, I'm talking about in MCU.
It'll happen. They can do it.
I don't think it's gonna.
It can happen.
It all depends on who they have directing it.
We'll see.
Stop putting it out on the universe that it can't happen. How dare you?
Also, I like that Spider-Man will return was their big tagline at the end.
Like Ant-Man.
Instead of
Like Ant-Man
anything
will
about anybody else.
They tie it in.
Should have been like the Avengers are just dead in the water.
Stop watching. Yeah. I mean, was there much in between? Like, were there things that were like,
or is there anything you want to talk about?
Like outside
it's
of
pretty
what's
much
good or
just
bad?
like everything else. I really liked the chase scene between Cap,
You know, if he had just stopped the
Panther,
truck,
and Winter Soldier.
if he had just stopped the truck, could have avoided all that problem. As Bucky was riding off on the motorcycle, instead of Cap going, you know what? I have this cat guy on my car. If I just hit the brakes,
Yeah,
he can't catch up to Bucky.
it's true.
But
then he
instead,
wouldn't have
I'm
been
gonna
able to
chase
catch
him
up
down.
with him.
Yeah.
He was trying to catch him as well, though.
Before the other agency took him out. Too.
Yeah.
He would have been fine. He's a
But
big
he wouldn't
boy.
have known where he went.
He's got a point.
They spent
He wouldn't
like,
have ended up in jail.
They spent
Where
7
Zemo
years
was
trying to
playing
find
for
him.
Nana.
That's what they said, right? Like, he'd been on the run for 7 years.
Yeah.
And they were trying to catch him. And basically, he was like, if I let him get away, I may not ever see him again.
But then Zemo wouldn't have gotten.
But they didn't know that Zemo was a problem at that
I
point.
know. I'm just saying.
But we also established that Bucky is Cap's weak area.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that scene of friggin' Bucky grabbing the guy off the bike, spinning it around, and taking off, that was so cool.
When I saw that, like, I was like, wow, they could have filmed that terribly, but they did a really good job on that. It could have looked terrible.
I get a very. It made me think of Daredevil when they were fighting at Bucky's like apartment or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, no killing. But he was clearly like disabling a lot of these people in ways that they would not recover from very well.
Like,
yeah,
Batman does that all
get
the time, and nobody ever complains.
Everybody bats an eye.
Yeah, like he hit him with a battering ram at his super strength.
That was
like,
really cool.
No, that was great.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
like,
putting their head through walls and stuff.
It's
When he,
like
kicked him
shattering
into
people's
the-
bones.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, he's not dead, but he's probably going to be paralyzed or something. Like,
Rhodey can relate.
Yeah, Rhodey can relate.
It's going to be my new thing,
So-
just so you know.
So, outside of the good and bad, they set up a lot, man. I mean, I'm fully.
They set up a whole lot. Like, I was kind of starting to wane on Avengers after Ultron, and this brought me back into it.
I told you it was. You wouldn't believe me.
I
Look,
never said that it wouldn't.
You said superheroes are going to die.
I said that superhero films are going to start dying out. It's still going to happen.
I mean,
It will happen.
because it's a trend. Like, that's what Hollywood does. It moves in trends.
I'm okay with this.
But it's okay because they're setting themselves up
DC
to.
will bring down the superheroes.
But the thing that Marvel's doing right is they're setting multiple genres up in their universe.
Yes,
Which
so
is
that
what they
it
need
can
to
still be superhero
Yeah,
related.
so it'll still
but
be
not-
fresh.
Yeah. So Bucky's gonna be Cap.
Yeah.
Bucky's gonna be Captain America later on. They made a lot of allusions.
They may or may not kill Cap off, but Cap probably isn't going to keep
He'll either
being
die
Cap.
or be Nomad.
He's probably going to just become Steve Rogers' Super Soldier.
Well, what I'm saying is he could do the Nomad storyline if they want.
Well, yeah.
They don't have to explain it, but he could be like, "I'm the man without a country" or whatever.
What if he becomes a werewolf?
What? A werewolf?
Yeah. Like
But-
in that one time.
So Bucky, like, they made a lot of allusions to it with him grabbing the shield and fighting with Cap using the shield. Additionally, when they put him under for cryo, I think that's, again, whenever Cap leaves, they're gonna or dies, whatever, they're gonna unfreeze and be like, "Hey, we need you."
Yeah,
to fill
it'll
this
be
role."
like they're setting it up so
Yeah.
perfectly for it to be just like in the comics, where Bucky shows up again. He's like, "Oh, Cap's dead.
I think we will.
I
get
gotta
at
need
least,
this."
I think we will get at least one more interaction between Spider-Man and Captain America.
Yeah.
Because their brief amount of banter was like it was good. It felt very like mentory. Again, a direct
Parallel.
opposite. No. Parallel would be similar.
Well, yeah.
A-
I thought that you were doing
No,
this.
contrast.
It was a direct contrast to Tony's interaction with Peter,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
it was very like, "I need you to do something for me," and Cap was like, "Man, you got a lot of heart. Like you're a good kid."
Yeah, like
where
Cap
you
was
from?
trying really hard to talk to him like he was mentoring.
Yeah.
him, and Tony was trying to just be his buddy.
So I like that, right? I think they're going to have at least one more interaction. I mean, Spider-Man's, we don't know much about Homecoming and how that's going to play into the MCU as a whole.
I still would be entirely okay with them just jumping straight into Sinister Six.
I'm sorry. But no, I mean...
They could. You don't know that.
They won't.
You don't know. Nobody knows.
So Ant-Man didn't really... I mean, the big setups were all T'Challa, Bucky. Like, those two are the big ones. Because they're...
T'Challa, Bucky, and Avengers.
Yeah, Black Panther's going to be great.
Yeah, Black Panther's going to be awesome.
Because, well, and again, right, so we've mentioned it before, Secret Avengers is going to be a thing now.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the movie...
It has to be a thing.
Steve breaks them out, and they're going to be vigilante.
Whether or not they call it Secret Avengers, I don't know. But Secret Avengers are going to exist in the universe.
Yeah. I don't know how they're going to do it.
It would be really cool.
Well, I don't know how they're going to do it in MCU because, right, isn't the whole thing that in the comics, like, they still don't know the secret identity of a lot of the heroes, which is why they're able to do Secret Avengers?
Well, in Secret Avengers, it's not so much that they don't know their identities. It's just their identities aren't public knowledge, but it's just a matter of they work like S.H.I.E.L.D. They do a whole lot of rogue ops.
But what I'm saying is, like, the government now knows, like, Steve Lang's name. Scott Lang's name, right? They can look him up. They know.
Well, they already knew his name. Just saying.
My point being is,
like, secret identities don't really exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Very rarely.
The only person with a secret identity right now is Spider-Man. Everybody else is public knowledge.
Yeah, for the most part.
Except for Vision, everyone's like, who the fuck is this? It's just some guy with a glowing gem on his head.
Is planned.
So
next Spider-Man.
So I think we should get into, like, how would you rate this into your
hierarchy?
Yeah.
It's my second favorite Marvel
I think movie. I think that I'd honestly put it above Winter Soldier.
Go first. Yeah, what is your top three?
Avengers, Avengers, Civil War, Winter Soldier. Hands down. Best three Marvel movies out.
I think that would pretty much be my three now, too.
Really? You wouldn't put Guardians above
Guardians is below Winter Soldier, and I'd put Civil War above Winter Soldier, and I put Winter Soldier. It would be Avengers, Civil War, Winter Soldier for me. Guardians would be a close fourth.
I agree with that. I mean, I don't agree with it being close fourth, but I agree with that. Not being top.
I would say, as someone who hasn't really read all the comics and has all this back history as much as y'all do, I would say, I still say Captain America, the first one. I'd say Winter Soldier. I'd probably say Civil War is going to be my fourth, because I think Ant-Man's a really good contrast there.
Fair enough.
Ant-Man was really good.
Yeah. Let's talk about how this was one of the few trilogies that continued to improve throughout the entire series.
That's true.
Like, people talk about Star Wars and how the original trilogy, it was, like, 4 was good, 5 was better, and 6 was kind of meh.
Yeah.
Like, this one got better every time, I think. Like, out of any trilogy, it'll go down as one of the best.
Yeah, I guess Winter Soldier can't be the Empire Strikes Back of Captain America anymore.
Civil War is now the Empire Strikes Back of the Avengers.
Yes.
But no, it just continued to get better, and I hope that the Thor directors and people will take note of this.
I think that Ragnarok is going to be really good.
I want Ragnarok to be good.
I'd be really surprised if Ragnarok
to be good.
It's going to be way better than the last two Thor movies.
As good as better as Dark World was the regular Thor, Dark World still wasn't all that great.
It was much more tolerable.
Yeah, way more than the Thor movie. But
I think
it got better from a not very good movie versus Captain America, where it got better from a pretty good movie just to start out from. But I mean,
I'm excited to see what's going to happen with Ant-Man next.
Oh, Ant-Man and Wasp, yeah.
Ant-Man and Wasp will be good.
It's going to be great. Well, that's the thing, right? So, Iron Man's not getting another movie. Or at least we don't think so.
Well, he might be.
Really?
They haven't said for certain, but, I mean, not that it means anything, but Robert Downey Jr. has said that he's open to the idea of coming back for a fourth film.
It honestly depends on them shoving in all these movies everywhere, because they had to make room for Spider-Man. Right. They had to take out Inhumans at this point.
But, I mean, I don't think that it's going to happen because they're doing what they did with Tony in the comics, where he's becoming more of a director role.
Fury-ish.
Yeah.
No.
Where he doesn't so much operate on the front lines anymore.
Which is good.
I think it makes better sense for his character, because his character is crazy and paranoid at this point. He probably doesn't need to be fighting anymore.
No.
And he's probably going to be scarred for a little bit after that fight with Cap.
He's already scarred.
Yeah,
I know. He's been scarred since, like, the third movie.
Yeah, Tony ended up pretty bad in the emotional, like, spectrum. Like, he found out his parents' killers.
At the end of the movie,
Steve betrayed him. His best friend's, like, semi-paralyzed.
Like,
you see why I feel for Tony?
Jesus. And then he's like, "You're still a billionaire, though, you asshole."
But so look at it this way: of at the end of that fight sequence, Cap could have entirely killed him.
I thought he was gonna do it.
He could have just straight up murdered Tony at the end of the movie and didn't. I think that says a lot about Cap's character.
Well, it does.
Tony could have killed Ben.
He didn't have as direct of a shot as Cap did to his face.
He did warn him though.
Yeah. He could have straight up killed him. So I'm just saying, at the end of that,
T'Challa could have killed all of them. Let's be real. Outside of Vision, he could have killed every single person.
Yeah, he could have killed all three of them in the silo before they did anything about it.
Whatever, I'm just gonna murder
and then just kept hush about it. Yeah. Nobody has to know.
I don't know what happened.
I don't know who these people are.
But no, T'Challa is a great addition. He's gonna be fun to watch.
He's so collected, and I love that.
He's a good contrast to everybody else.
To the super emotional, I feel this right now, so I'm gonna go do it characters.
Yeah,
or the funny characters.
Yeah.
He's like the straight man.
Yeah, in that sense, he is very true to his character in the comics, and I love it.
Yeah, it's great. So I mean, that's gonna be the next. After Infinity Wars, whatever it's gonna be renamed. The next Avengers team is going to be Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Scarlet Witch, Spider-Man, and Bucky as Cap.
They have to bring in the X-Men because I'm going to be mad if I never get to see T'Challa and Storm. Because that was one of the best power couples in the universe.
They need to do AVX. Alright, Fox needs to stop dicking around.
Fox and Sony.
Well, Sony's on board. Playing ball now.
The directors, or the Russo brothers, have said that
they're open to the idea.
They really want Wolverine in the Avengers. Which makes sense because he was a huge part of the new Avengers.
Here's my theory. Marvel had the rights to any and all X-Men TV shows.
Yeah.
Now we have 2 X-Men TV shows coming out that Marvel is okayed, and their people are working on it. So there have been talks between Fox and Marvel. Maybe this is the start of an interconnected universe.
Also, I'm a little surprised that they've yet to do anything with Sentry as a character. Because Sentry is a big deal in the Avengers universe. Because he's basically a Superman character. When Thor disappeared, they got Sentry. He's mentally unstable. But he's
Red Hulk.
Yeah, but he's I'm surprised that he hasn't shown up in any form at all in the cinematic universe so far, just because he was a big part of the new Avengers.
Yeah, I really want Fox to play ball. I want to see how much money. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong.
Spider-Man?
I've told you. They're waiting until they see how much money
Spider-Man after this. Spider-Man's going to bring in a ton of money.
Yeah. I'd be surprised if Spider-Man doesn't have one of the biggest box office openings ever.
I want to see
bigger than Avengers
for the love of the comics, right? But unfortunately, Hollywood needs to be motivated by money. So I want to see how much money Civil War makes, and then I want to see how much money Sony makes, and then I want to see.
It's already been making a huge amount internationally. It had a huge international open.
I want to see. I really just want to sit in the theater before the first Spider-Man showing and watch the people walk in and just point out which of these people have seen all the Spider-Man movies and kind of have that look of please be good, please be good, right? Because we've been down this road before, right? The first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie when it came out.
Personally, I'm just really upset that I didn't get a third film from Garfield because Garfield was really good.
It needs fucking closure.
Yeah, I mean, having Gwen Stacy die isn't really closure.
No,
that's just
that's the beginning of a whole something new.
And we're getting ready to bring in Black Cat. And
they set it up so well. They had Harry there. They were going to bring back Norman.
All the villains.
They were setting up, as much as I was bothered by how much they were forcing into that movie, they were setting up Sinister Six, and I didn't get Sinister Six. Yeah. That's why I want Sinister Six in the next movie, because I've been fucking waiting for it.
Forever. Yeah.
They need to just jump into it and do Sinister Six.
I mean,
and they can, because, all of the original Sinister Six villains were small time.
Yeah.
They were mostly small time.
Doc
Ock's pretty small time.
Mysterio.
Doc Ock,
I want to see Mysterio on big screen.
Well, before we get too much into this, I think we've covered the movie. We're getting into other subjects at this point.
So outside of this movie, Spider-Man, I want it so bad. I'm putting it on record right now that I think Fox plays ball after
I'm sure they will. I have no doubt that they'll get on board.
Just not be a thing.
Didn't they I thought I saw an article or something somewhere that said that the X-Men and the MCU technically exist, but they're in alternate dimensions is basically what they're saying. So that means that
we can secret. Wait.
Secret Wars. They can
Secret
do
Wars,
it.
These universes.
That's what I've been saying.
If they just set up a good Doctor Doom, then yes, they can do that.
They don't even necessarily have to set up a good Doctor Doom. They could just use Pym and Reed as it for it.
But I want
Doom.
God Doom. That was so
Doom
good.
is badass. He's such a good character. And people that don't read the comics don't get how good Doom is.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, he's that shitty Fantastic Four villain that keeps showing up.
Yeah, it's like, no, Doom is like the most powerful villain in the entire Marvel universe.
And he's like...
And he's not like a celestial being either.
Like, so what I want them to do, I want them to do Secret War, and I want them to do Annihilation. Because Annihilation is by far the best cosmic crossover that they've ever done.
Mortal Kombat Annihilation's already been...
No, John. Stop it. I'm talking about Annihilation with Annihilus taking Galactus and using him as a power source to take over the universe. And it was amazing.
Liu Kang, but...
Well, they need a...
John, stop it. I hate you so much right now.
Here's what I want. I want Secret Avengers. Obviously, we're going to get Thanos. Really want to see Galactus.
Yeah,
I really
want to see,
Galactus.
that's why I want them to do Annihilation, because it would make sense with what they've already set up.
Yes.
For them to tie in Galactus and Thanos
I know you don't want to see
Annihilation.
Well, no. You want to see AVX. I want to see.
I want to see AVX.
No, I know you don't want to see Spider-Verse. I do. Sorry.
Right, but what I'm saying is if they do Secret Wars, they have no reason to do Spider-Verse.
Well, because
they can just do that as part of the Secret Wars.
I'm done.
But
I want Spider-Gwen on the screen.
I think that it would be really cool if we got a Spider-Gwen TV series.
That would be amazing.
That would be a good way to introduce that character.
Holy crap.
I also want the Avenging Spider-Man.
See, this is why I need to be doing my theory videos.
I want Red Hulk, I want Spider-Man,
But the main
Planet
reason
Hulk.
that I say that they should do AVX...
Oh my god.
I want Planet Hulk.
Hulk
needs a good movie.
Hulk needs
Hulk doesn't need a movie.
He needs a good movie.
He doesn't.
I mean, they had Norton.
You know why he doesn't need a movie? Because he's a secondary character. He's a useless character. All he does is show up and go Hulk smash and break things.
It's kind of like Wolverine. Hey, bub, run away.
That's not true. It was true up until Old Man Logan.
It's true.
Old Man Logan is so good.
So, we'll briefly touch on
Spider-Gwen TV show?
No, Apocalypse.
Spider-Gwen TV show.
Apocalypse.
Spider-Gwen.
I'm so excited about Apocalypse, but
Wolverine.
It's not gonna be as good as I want it to be.
John, you just have to accept the fact that anytime X-Men exists, it's gonna have Wolverine in it.
I just want a new Wolverine. That's
I
all I want.
I don't. Hugh Jackman is awesome.
No, he is. But he's been the main person in
all the
movies.
They need to just.
Future Past.
What they need to do is drop him out of the X-Men, do one more standalone movie, and then just have him show up for Avengers every once in a while. And then they'll be like, hey, Wolverine, what have you been up to? Oh, just off on my own solo adventures.
That's what he does.
Searching for my past again.
Just hanging out in the woods in Canada.
What was it, Kahlua Bear or whatever?
Kahlua Bear.
In the first movie? I can't remember what they called it.
No, dude, they need Tom Hardy to be the new Wolverine.
No, what they need is to just drop Wolverine and make X-23 the next Wolverine.
I'm totally fine with this, because X-23 is one of my favorite
And
characters.
then they should do DC versus Marvel.
That would never happen.
I'm trying to stay a little grounded.
Can you imagine what kind of cluster fuck that movie would be?
I know, like Zack Snyder and all those other people.
That would be awful. Because
Batfleck walking up to Thor and being like, "Do you bleed?"
Back to that, right? So
I don't know, Earth human.
The fight scenes, look, no stupid fight scenes with guns, right? Like everything was choreographed or shot in a way that didn't make it seem stupid that these people had guns and didn't shoot somebody, which happens in every Zack Snyder movie, and Chris Nolan. Sorry, but no, that unfortunately. But AVX needs to happen. Galactus needs to happen.
Dude, y'all need to read Annihilation. It is so good.
Okay, I'll read it.
A new Fantastic Four needs to happen.
So, that's what I thought they were setting up whenever they did the whole Guardians of the Galaxy thing, because Drax is a huge part of Annihilation.
Just because
But so is Ronan. Like, both of those characters are huge parts of that story.
He's dead now.
He's not...
Ronan is dead. He is totally dead.
He's dead for now until Wanda resets reality. That's always been my biggest problem with Wanda as a character, is she's literally just a retcon device. Anytime they don't like something that happens, they can just be like, whoop.
That would never happen, yeah.
Oh, that? Nope.
I think there's a lot of good to come. I think this is a good stepping point. I mean, we haven't even mentioned the fact that Doctor Strange is going to come out and change.
So I gotta, just off topic on that too, like, when I saw the Doctor Strange trailer on my computer, I was like, and then when I saw it in theater, I was like, oh, okay, this will be a fun experience in theaters.
Yeah.
I'm still upset that they're doing Baron Mordo and not Dormammu.
Yeah, I know.
Because Dormammu is such a better character for the story plot.
So far they've done a good job of not showing everything in the movie and the trailer so far.
It's like the fucking Ant-Man thing. I was just like, oh my god, they're actually doing it. They did it. Like that, I was so happy. I was so happy.
Yes.
I still love that interaction between Tony and Scott. Whenever he's like, Pym always told me not to trust the Stark. And he's like, who are you? Come on, man.
When he met Steve, he's like shaking your hand way too long. He's like, touches his arm. And then he says to Scarlet, he's like, oh, I know you. You're awesome. Yeah. He like, doesn't know her name. God, he's so funny.
Arrow guy.
Why do you call him Hawk Guy?
Hawk Guy. It's one really big thing out of Avenging Hawkeye.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or just somebody being like, bro.
Yes. No, there's a lot of good stuff coming out. So, really Strange is the only thing coming out this year, right? After
Strange is the last Marvel film this year. The next one will be Guardians.
It's so sad.
Guardians will be next year.
This year we only got 2 Marvel movies, but for the next 3 years we're getting 3 every year.
Yeah, next year we get Black Panther, Guardians, and Thor.
Oh, Thor Ragnarok.
And then we get Captain Marvel in 2018 along with Avengers.
I'm okay with it because there's a lot of shit coming out this year, like
Suicide Squad,
Apocalypse. X-Men. Yeah, like there's a lot of stuff.
I'm expecting that if Suicide Squad does well, we're going to see a Thunderbolts movie. I'd be very surprised if we don't get a Thunderbolts movie.
I think Suicide Squad's gonna be good.
Yeah,
I really will. I think it's gonna be DC's shining light of their dreary universe.
That's their big problem is all of their movies haven't really been different. All of their films are the same bleak outlook on life.
I still hold that. I think
there's no
their characters work better in animated or comic book form.
Oh, they've got the animated movies down.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. They should stick to that instead of trying to make live action because I don't think it just doesn't work as.
If y'all haven't watched it, you should watch the Spectacular Spider-Man series on Netflix. Really good.
Really?
Really good. With
Drake Bell as
Spider-Man.
Voice.
Is this the opening?
Is that the Drake Bell one where he teams up with Iron Fist and White Tiger?
Yes.
Okay, no, I watched some of it. It's good.
It's really good. Okay. He teams up with the Guardians of the Galaxy in the second season.
Did you see that?
What?
No,
the Guardians of the Galaxy. The Guardians of the Galaxy are totally canon.
No, stupid question. No, the cartoon.
Cannonball. He's totally canon.
Did you see that Ben Affleck is now signed on to help direct Justice League?
Is he?
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes.
And his own movie.
Well, I already knew he was signed on to the Batman movies. We'll see how. I don't know. I still don't have a whole lot of faith in DC to do anything right. Not that BVS was bad, but just after watching Captain
America do everything that Batman vs Superman tried to do.
It's like it did everything that Batman vs Superman wanted to do.
Yeah,
but better.
Zack Snyder was like, "This is what I wanted." Why didn't it happen?
Oh, man.
Why doesn't anybody love me? Because you made Sucker Punch. Go away.
I think we should end it.
All right. Well, guys, we'll go ahead and end this one. We'll probably be back for
X-Men.
Really don't want
to. X-Men's later this month.
We'll be back for
another episode.
Apocalypse.
Or another episode.
Or some in between.
We'll be back for Wolverine Apocalypse.
Essentially. Yeah. No, but we'll catch you guys next time. Bye.